Only 2 minutes. This shocking prayer will make money appear now. Don't ignore this. The clock was ticking. Every second felt like a heart-stopping moment in a horror film. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting eerie shadows that danced along the peeling walls of the old church. In the center, a worn and dusty altar stood as a testament to lost hopes and desperate prayers. Stories whispered through the congregation of lost souls finding fortune, of miraculous windfalls appearing overnight. Everyone thought they were just urban legends until tonight as Sam stepped inside. The tension was almost palpable, like static in the air before a storm. The air was thick, sticky with the scent of candles and something sweet, almost syrupy. It made his stomach twist just thinking about it. He could feel the stares from the others, their eyes filled with a mix of skepticism and fearful hope. Some would leave, but others would be tempted. Those who believed in this bizarre prayer ritual, the one that could conjure riches in mere minutes. With trembling hands, he closed his eyes tightly. Suddenly his mind raced. Was he really ready to utter the words? His heart pounded like a drum in his chest, louder than anything in the ghostly silence of the room. Only a few had ever dared to complete this ritual, and rumors swirled about what truly lay behind the incantation. Sam knew people who felt empty, hollow, after calling upon its promise. What if he lost something along the way? Their tales were chilling, eyes growing wide with fear, voices shaking with disbelief. He couldn't shake that tightness in his chest. But then the whispering began, soft like the rustle of leaves but filled with a chilling weight. It's the only way, a voice urged, barely above a whisper. Moments later, the rustling escalated. Was it voices or the wind? Just as the curiosity surged through him, fate slapped him in the face. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With that unexpected pause, Sam's heart was pounding now for two reasons. What did he just get himself into? The air felt charged, and the shadows deepened. He opened his mouth, hesitating, words on the verge of spilling out. In an instant, the lights flickered again, but this time, illuminating a figure standing at the back, a hunched silhouette. Only 2 minutes, it croaked, voice like gravel on stone. Sam's breath caught. Who was that? What were they doing? And what happened in just 2 minutes? His heart raced and dread crept in. The room was alive with pulse and potential. Every second an invitation or a warning. What came next? The figure stepped closer, its features slowly becoming visible in the flickering light. Sam's stomach twisted further, the intensity of the moment suffocating. The figure was old, gray hair spilling over its hunched shoulders, skin parchment thin and wrinkled. The eyes, deep and black, seemed to bore into Sam's very soul, electrifying the air surrounding them. Time is not a luxury here, the figure rasped, sounding almost as if every word was a battle against a lifetime of exhaustion. You ask for great fortune, but the price is steep. Sam's breath hitched in his throat. Price? What did that mean? He could feel others forming a circle around the altar. Those who had once been strangers, now suddenly connected by this shared sense of urgency and unuttered prayers. Murmurs rose between the grouped bodies, a wavering symphony of hope and fear. 2 minutes, the figure continued, each syllable echoing like a heartbeat of fate. In those moments, reveal to the cosmos what you desire, and it shall be yours. But beware, for desire unchecked brings forth consequences. Consequences? The word slithered into Sam's mind, constricting his thoughts. He had seen people in desperate states chase after wealth and fame, their dreams twisting into nightmares. What would happen if he let his desires loose? Will you partake? The figure's voice cut through Sam's swirling thoughts, a thin thread of certainty in a storm of uncertainty. Everyone's eyes shifted to him, curious and fearful. Time ticked on relentlessly. It was as if the universe itself held its breath, waiting for him to take a leap of faith. That he felt a lump in his throat, a mixture of terror and exhilaration clawing at his insides. Was he really ready? The candlelight flickered again, a sign. The air was growing heavier, thick with collective anticipation. And before Sam could think too hard, he took a step toward the altar. I do, he stammered. The words seemed to resonate in the silence, amplifying the tension around him. The figure smiled, revealing a set of crooked, yellowed teeth that looked more like remnants of ancient secrets than anything resembling warmth. Then speak your wishes, child. But remember, time is fleeting. The moment Sam opened his mouth, a tempest of words flooded him, dreams of wealth, travel, freedom. Everything he had ever longed for spilled forth like molten gold. Each phrase fueled by raw, burning desire. Outside, the storm began to rumble. A low growl that matched the thrumming in his chest. Suddenly, an otherworldly wind swirled through the church, snuffing the candles in a violent gust. Shadows darted over the walls, whispering secrets in a language that seemed almost alive. The congregation gasped, eyes wide, and panic traced dark lines across their faces. Stop! Sam shouted, his voice barely audible over the rising chaos. Had he unleashed something he couldn't control? The figure's grin widened, revealing no comfort. It seemed hungry, trapped in this moment of power. Only 2 minutes, child, you wanted it, didn't you? As Sam's heart raced, boiling dread flooded him. The world seemed to tilt, reality warping around him. Those precious seconds felt like hours stretching beyond limits. What had he truly summoned? Caught in this maelstrom of anxiety and swirling energies, Sam's mind stumbled. And then something caught his eye, a flash of light from behind the altar. An object shimmering with an allure that was terrifying. What was it? And what did it mean for him and the others in the room? The clock fell silent, an imperceptible heartbeat joining a void of tension. In that moment, the silence became deafening, and darkness loomed closer. As the darkness pressed in, Sam's fight or flight instinct kicked in. He strained to make sense of the blinding light behind the altar, an insistent shimmer that beckoned him forward. It pulsated like a heartbeat, familiar, yet foreign. The shadows surrounding him swirled with ominous whispers, and the collective breath of the congregation hitched. A palpable wave of fear that crashed against his skin. Sam, a voice whispered, soft yet full of urgency. It was Clara, one of the women who stepped forward in support earlier. Her eyes darted between him and the altar. What are you doing? He swallowed hard, trying to pull his thoughts together. I don't know. Each word felt like a weight pressing down on him. The figure was watching intently, an almost predatory gleam in its deep-set eyes. Reality felt slippery, the contours of his world shifting with each passing second. The air crackled fiercely as an unseen force danced around him. Sam could feel the heat building in his chest. What had he just poured into the cosmic void? All those desires, his dreams sprung from a well of hope and need. Yet who was he to demand such things? The price was hidden like a wolf behind the door. Speak. The figure commanded, voice low, barely more than a hiss. What else do you desire? 2 minutes, child. Speak. Every pair of eyes bore into him. With a shiver, Sam took a step closer to the altar, the flickering shadows casting lunging shapes on the stone. The light drew him like a moth, promising everything and yet somehow warning against making the leap. Freedom. He shouted suddenly, the word erupting from his chest. The crowd flinched, their faces taut with fear. I want to be free. Free of this life. Free from responsibility. Free to chase my dreams. The wind howled in response, echoing his desire. Around him, whispers fluctuated into cries of disbelief and terror. Strangers backed away, bodies colliding, panic igniting. Sam pressed on, feeling emboldened. I want power. I want wealth. I want to mold my destiny. With each declaration, the wisps of energy around him surged, swirling faster, building momentum. The light behind the altar flickered, revealing what lay hidden. An ancient, ornate chalice, the reflection of his greed glimmering within its depths. It felt cursed and beautiful, a promise steeped in danger. Is this what you truly want? Clara yelled, her voice piercing through the chaos. Think about the consequences. But the figure grinned wider, hands outstretched, urging Sam forward. You desire it. Claim it. All shall be yours if you understand the cost. A knot tightened in Sam's throat. Could he really face the aftermath of such reckless ambition? The breath of the room mixed with the thunder outside, drumming a pulse of uncertainty. In that instant, Sam felt the weight of every soul present, their hopes tethered to his chaotic moment. But then it hit him a startling realization. The price was about more than wealth or fame. It's about the sacrifices he would make, the people he could leave behind. Was it worth it? Could he repay the dark debts this desire demanded? The shadows lunged closer, wrapping around him with a rush, tightening like a noose. In the blink of an eye, chaos swirled around the altar, each unresolved wish tearing at the fabric of reality itself. Make your choice. The figure's voice roared, shaking the very foundation of the church. Will you grasp the power, or stand back and watch as it all crumbles? The storm outside intensified, rattling the walls with a fury that mirrored the war raging within him. Sam couldn't breathe. The weight of potential choices threatened to crush him. Suddenly, a blinding flash enveloped the room, slicing through the darkness and freezing time. What would he do in that illuminated moment? What price was he willing to pay when the clock struck? Light exploded around him, blurring his vision and slashing through the chaos like a blade. Sam's heart pounded in his ears as the world held its breath. The brilliant radiance felt like a warm embrace and a cold grip at once, promising everything while sending a shiver of dread down his spine. Time felt fractured, shards of possibility slicing through his mind. He stood at the precipice of a precipice, every whisper around him silenced. The faces of the crowd morphed into expressions of horror, their fear thickening the air. Clara's frightened eyes pierced his thoughts, reminding him that every choice had repercussions. Sam, think, she shouted, her voice slicing through the haze. A glimmer of desperation flared in her eyes. This is not a game. Sam couldn't focus on her words. His desires wrapped around him, each one a ghost vowing to haunt him if he turned away from this chance. Freedom, power, wealth, they filled his head until it spun like a carousel. Yet, deep down, a voice clawed for attention. Was this what he truly wanted? Is it worth it? He murmured, shaking his head as if trying to clear away the fog. The figure's presence loomed closer, its predatory smile broadening. You have 2 minutes. It hissed. A bargain awaits. All of it could be yours. In the depths of his mind, shadows cracked and shattered. The chalice behind the altar gleamed, enticing and malevolent. A siren song echoed, claim your power. But with that thought came others, flashes of people he'd hurt, dreams he'd abandoned, the isolation that came with ambition. A lump formed in his throat as he caught sight of Clara again. Fear for him written plainly on her face, her silent plea for him to reconsider. Sam. Against the clamor of thoughts, a stillness settled. Time ticked first slowly, then fast, like seconds falling through a sieve. Could he build a life from this madness, or would everything turn to ashes? The light pulsed again, demanding an answer. Sam felt the shadows close in, their dark fingers brushing against his skin, taunting him. A price was looming, ready to collect. Would he let self-interest chain him to darkness? What do you desire? The figure's voice was seductive, honeyed yet chilling. Speak and it will be yours. A momentary silence enveloped the church, thick as smoke. It pressed in, and he could feel everyone's breaths, all eyes locked on him. This is it, the defining moment. Enough, he shouted, desperation breaking through the terror. I don't want this. I want choices, not burdens. I want to choose. The words poured out like a floodgate, each one more liberating than the last. All around him, the room quivered. The wind howled outside, and the walls seemed to pulse with his energy, each beat echoing through the frightened congregation. For an instant, it seemed as if time had frozen in disbelief. The shadows receded, and the light brightened, swirling in a tempest. But then, just beyond the edge of that light, he saw something else, a darker figure, somehow familiar, lurking in the corner of his vision, waiting. Sam, it murmured, the voice laced with chilling familiarity. You think you can escape what I have given you? A wave of icy fear washed over him that he thought he was walking away from chaos. But was it only the beginning of something worse? What had he unleashed in the seconds he dared to dream? The clock ticked down, and as the light flickered in a furious dance, Sam realized he had just made an enemy. What fate awaited him now? Would he confront the darkness he had provoked? Or would he become part of a legacy far more sinister than he dared to imagine? The echoes of Sam's defiance hung in the air, thick and electric. A powerful energy crackled around him as the light pulsated, a beacon amidst the chaos. Yet alongside this surge of strength simmered a most unsettling awareness, the familiar figure just beyond the light, shrouded in expectation, poised to unravel everything he had just fought for. Sam. The voice again intruded, lingering with a hypnotic draw. Did you really believe you could escape? You've only scratched the surface. Cold dread sliced through him. He knew that voice. It carried memories wrapped in betrayal, whispers too painful to dwell on. The last time he heard it, everything had shattered. Get out of my head, he yelled, the room vibrating with his fury. The shadows twisted and writhed, feeding off his fear, as if delighting in his inner turmoil. They found you, the familiar voice pressed, smooth and cruel, and they will find you again. Sam's heart raced as realization swept over him. This wasn't a solitary confrontation. He had made a choice, yes, but had he truly found freedom? Or had he simply sparked a chain reaction? His mind raced with possibilities. What had he unlocked? The crowd, once a wall of faceless horror, was now merely a fragment of his world, watching in frozen disbelief. Clara, her eyes wide, was still there, but now across the distance, she looked powerless. Sam, she cried, her voice tinged with urgency. You're not alone in this. For a brief moment, her words flickered like a candle in the dark. No, I'm not. He felt the warmth of hope, but it was swiftly engulfed by the cold jaws of doubt. Could anyone truly fight the darkness that had come looking for him? With resolve brewing within him, he faced the looming figure swathed in shadows. I can't be controlled by your lies. I choose my own path. His voice echoed and the ground trembled, defiance surging through him. But silence fell like a blade. The figure stepped forward, its bright, icy gaze locking onto his. You misunderstand, Sam. You were never a pawn in their game. You became the king. A ringing laugh echoed in his ears, and suddenly, the walls of the church creaked as if the entire structure were shifting. Sam could feel it. The shift between light and dark seemed palpable. The people around him were more than mere witnesses. They were caught in this struggle, their fate intertwined with his. In that moment, he felt Clara's fear like a blade against his heart. He turned toward her, and for the briefest of seconds, the world hushed. Would they all suffer for his choices? Run! He shouted to the crowd, knowing he might be sealing their fate. But he also knew that their vulnerability hinged on him. The choice between light and dark was never just his to make. But as the last word left his mouth, the air crackled with an ominous energy. A gust of wind swept through, sending papers flying, voices of alarm filling the space. Sam felt the weight of countless eyes upon him, and in their collective gaze, he sensed the flickering question hanging between them. Would he succumb to the shadows, or would he conquer them? Then the figure raised its hand, and the space around Sam warped. The darkness surged forward, and just as he thought he'd succumb, a blinding flash burst through the chaos, unveiling a hidden door behind the altar. An escape? Or deeper into the heart of the darkness? Sam. Clara's voice sliced through the tumult. You have to decide now. Could he face what awaited him? Or would this lead him to a nightmare from which he could never return? He took a breath, feeling a mix of determination and fear. The clock ticked ominously in the back of his mind. What lay hidden behind the door? What choices remained, and would any lead him back to the light? Heart pounding, Sam darted toward the door, the chaos spinning around him like a tempest. The shadows taunted, whispering secrets he dared not entertain. Clara's scream echoed in his ears, a lifeline amidst the turmoil. Sam, don't. She reached forward, her desperation pulling at him like gravity, but the darkness lunged, desperate to swallow him whole. He took a staggering step through the threshold, expecting the weight of horror to crush him. Instead, an otherworldly gleam enveloped him, pulling him deeper. Colors swirled in a kaleidoscope of light and shadow, swirling like a storm of memories. Each step felt like moving through syrup, slow, sticky, full of dread. A sense of oppressive silence engulfed him, muffling the screams and cries of the crowd left behind. Was he alone now? Anxiety curled in his chest, the memories of betrayal clawing at his mind. Welcome, King Sam, said a different voice now, smooth as silk, yet filled with menace. "You've finally arrived at your destiny." As the light began to clear, he found himself in a vast chamber. The walls lined with mirrors reflecting a fractured version of reality. The figure from the church stood at the heart of it all, no longer shrouded but glaring at him with malevolent sorcery. It was a face he recognized, the past coiled tightly around it, twisting it into a shape he loathed. Even in his resolve, Sam's heart twisted. "Why are you doing this? You think I belong to you? The choice was never yours to make. You were literally molded by our hands." The figure moved closer, every step echoing ominously, as if the ground itself shivered with its approach. "Your anger, your frustration, they fuel our power. You could be so much more." Fear wrapped around his mind like barbed wire. "I'm not afraid of you. Then why do I see it in your eyes?" The figure leaned closer, its breath icy, chilling bone deep. "The truth is far more terrifying than any nightmare. Are you ready to embrace who you really are?" Sam felt himself sway, pulled by conflicting tides of fear and anger. "I am not your puppet," he shouted, but the words stumbled from his lips. The shame flared, a reaction he couldn't fully suppress. "You shun your heritage, but you will return." The figure's expression morphed, eyes glinting with fevered excitement. "We can rule together, just say the word." And suddenly, the mirrors around him flickered with visions, twisted realities where he reigned supreme, dark and corrupted. Vivid flashes of power, chaos, and destruction danced before him. He recoiled, sickness choking him. Clara's face, full of hopeful defiance, flickered among the reflections, and it ignited something deep within him. Logos of choice and destiny clashed violently in his head. Was this all some elaborate game? Sam clenched his fists, wrestled with the despair and the intoxicating pull of dark promises. He had suffered enough. "I may be a king," he asserted, his voice rising, "but I will never rule with the shadows." The figure's face twisted in rage. All pretense of calm slipped away. "Fool! You will regret this cowardice." With that, the air rippled. The mirrors shattered. Prismatic shards spiraled around him, cutting into reality like knives. Every reflection pulsed with a new urgency. Time was slipping away, choices swirling in the chaos. Driven by instinct, he turned back toward the doorway through which he had come, sparks of light igniting behind him. Sam's heart thundered as the walls began to tremble violently. Would he find Clara on the other side? Or would the shadows claim them all before dawn broke? He leaped, propelled by fear and the burning hope of connection, not knowing if he would emerge into light or darkness. The door slammed behind him with a terrifying thud. He braced for impact, the echoes of uncertainty looming large. What awaited him on the other side? Would he reclaim his fate or spiral deeper into the abyss? As Sam burst through the door, he stumbled into a familiar setting, one that twisted his stomach into tight knots. He was back in the church, but it felt different. The air was thick with despair, shadows creeping along the walls like sentient beings, spreading a chill that settled deep into his bones. Clara's scream echoed again, ricocheting off the high ceilings, louder this time. "Sam!" It was pleading, panicked, drawing him forward. He turned, heart racing, searching for her through the darkness that clawed at the edges of his vision. But he was alone, or was he? He could feel eyes on him, unseen watchers lurking in the recesses, feeding off his fear. A shadow darted into view, a flicker that made his skin prickle. "Clara?" he called out, his voice trembling. No response came, only chilling silence that grew heavier with each passing second. Fighting the urge to flee, Sam stepped further into the church, the old wooden floor creaking beneath him, an ominous reminder of the weight of history. The night outside roared against the stained glass, colors bleeding into one another like a fever dream. He had to find her. And just as he reached the altar, where a flickering candle struggled against the dark, the figure from the mirrors appeared before him, materializing from the very shadows that surrounded. It wore a shallow grin, eyes glinting wickedly. "You thought you could escape?" it hissed. "Get away from me!" Sam shouted, adrenaline surging as anger pushed back the terror. He took a step backward, but it cornered him, looming larger and more monstrous with every movement. "You're too late, King Sam. The game has only just begun." The figure pointed a skeletal finger toward the flickering candlestick. As if on cue, the flame exploded in a burst of blinding light. Instinctively, Sam shielded his eyes. When the brilliance faded, he gasped. The church was transformed. All around him, figures stood, faceless and menacing, wearing expressions of fury and betrayal. Among them, Sam spotted Clara, gasping for breath, ensnared in a golden cage that hung above the altar. "Clara!" he screamed, a primal rage igniting within him. He rushed forward, gritting his teeth against the onslaught of shadows that lunged to stop him. A net of darkness coiled around his ankles, pulling him down. Panic surged as he fought against it, clawing and kicking while the shadows whispered, taunting him. "Save her!" the figure mocked. "But at what cost? You can't save what is already damned." Each word twisted like a knife in his heart, chipping away at his resolve. Despair threatened to engulf him, but he forced himself to look at Clara, her eyes wide, pleading. He could see the flicker of hope within them, and it bore the weight of his decision. Suddenly the ground trembled. A blinding light erupted from the cage, cracking open reality like ice, revealing a void of swirling chaos beyond. Sam's heart raced. Was this the fracture he had seen in the mirrors? "Make your choice, King Sam," the figure hissed. "Embrace your power, or lose her forever." Without thinking, Sam lunged, yanking against the dark tendrils holding him captive. As he freed himself, his mind raced. Was it truly power he wanted? Or simply the chance to save Clara? With one fierce leap, he reached for the cage, calling out her name, desperate to break the spell. The air crackled around him, and in that moment everything shattered. What happened to Clara? Would Sam's confrontation summon more than just shadows, or would it open a doorway to unimaginable power? The answer loomed just beyond his grasp. The universe shifted around him, a cacophony of light and shadow swirling into a tempest of chaos. Sam felt himself suspended in a pulse of energy, every heartbeat a reminder of his desperation. He couldn't lose Clara. He wouldn't. As the world spun violently, he reached into the storm, grasping for something, anything to pull him closer to her. With one last surge of strength, a crack of lightning shot through his fingers. It felt alive, like electricity coursing through his veins, igniting hidden parts of his soul. Suddenly, he was yanked forward. The pulsing void disposed of him onto the altar, the cold stone biting against his knees. He barely regained his footing when the blinding energy dissipated, revealing the church anew. The figures around him had vanished, but the golden cage remained, swinging slightly, as if Clara's breath had caressed it. "Clara!" he called, the urgency clenched in his throat as he stared at her. She was still trapped, eyes wide with terror, but now glowing with a faint shimmer of light. The golden cage flickered, shadows squirming against its beams. "Sam, help me!" Her voice broke through the suffocating air, sending shockwaves of fear and determination through him. His heart thundered as he took a tentative step, then froze. An unearthly laughter erupted from behind him. It curled around him like a serpent. "You think you can take her away from me?" The figure emerged again, now more defined, more real, its form extruding from the shadows like ink bleeding into water. "You're a fool to think you hold any power to change the fate that has already been cast," it hissed. "Shut up," Sam roared, shaking. "You don't know anything about us. I'll tear this place apart if I have to." With a fierce resolve, Sam turned back to Clara. He could feel the warmth radiating from her, infusing him with strength. This wasn't merely a fight for her life. It was a fight for his own sanity, his heart, everything he held dear. "Hold on, Clara. I'll get you out." The laughter turned to rage. "No one ever escapes my grasp. You're already entangled in this game. Every choice you make only tightens the binding." As if on cue, the darkness thickened, launching from the corners and wrapping around his wrists. It felt like chains, heavy and suffocating. Sam struggled against it, but instead of weakening, a spark ignited inside him. "Maybe you think you have all the power," he spat, fueled by desperation. "But every moment I fight, I gain ground. And I won't stop until I set her free." The shadows recoiled slightly at his defiance, but the figure merely smiled, a wicked, hungry smile. "Then let us see how far you've come, King Sam. Let the trials begin." With that, the floor beneath him began to vibrate. Jagged fissures cracked the stone, sending tendrils of darkness lancing up to ensnare him. Panic set in as the ground shook violently, Clara's screams blending with the earth's groaning. Whatever you do, don't let go. He shouted, locking eyes with her, the connection forming a tether to his will. In that moment, the darkness surged forward, a wave of despair crashing over him. But the flicker from Clara's cage pierced through, a reminder of hope. He closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, gathering every ounce of willpower. Sam concentrated, envisioning the bond between them stronger than any chain, any darkness. His vision was a storm of colors and whispers, and through the chaos, he knew he had to break through. As he reached out to grasp her cage, the ground split open beneath him, exposing a void that threatened to swallow him whole. Will you rise or fall? The figure taunted, licking its lips, eager for a show. With one last roar of defiance, Sam lunged again, heart slamming against his ribs. But as he reached for the cage, the void gaped wider, and he felt its pull, raw and unstoppable. Something deep inside him screamed. Would light take shape, or would he be engulfed in eternal night? The next moment would determine everything. Could he save Clara? Or would they both plunge into the darkness? Sam's hand stretched toward the cage, the metal gleaming with Clara's light, but the darkness wasn't just a backdrop anymore. It breathed. It writhed. It called to him like a siren. Don't you see? The figure snarled, its eyes gleaming with malice. You are nothing against me. You should have stayed away. The ground trembled more violently now, a thunderous roar echoing in the sanctuary. Sam could feel the raw force of the void lurching under his feet, the chaos begging to consume him whole. Clara! He shouted again, desperation shredding his voice. He could barely hear her, a whisper now, trapped inside that cursed cage. Sam, please. Her glowing form flickered, distress radiating from her like heat waves. The shadows pulsed, tendrils darting around him, the grip tight and unforgiving. But something in her eyes sparked a memory of everything they had. Moments on the road, laughter under quiet stars, and dreams drawn out in the margins of life together. He had to fight. With grit and renewed determination, he pushed against the shadows constricting his wrists, forcing out a guttural scream that rattled the stones beneath him. In an explosion of energy, he summoned the light that Clara had given him, feeling it course through him like wildfire, igniting every corner of his being. A wall of white-hot illumination surged from his chest, exploding outward and pushing the darkness away like the sun shoving back the night. The figure howled, rage mixing with the chaotic shadows. No. It lurched back, caught off guard, fear shimmering in its eyes. Your control ends here. Sam shouted. He felt a pulse, the tether with Clara growing stronger. The cage glowed brighter now, resonating with his wave of light. Just a bit more. He gasped, his breath coming out in shuddered bursts. He focused on clearing the space between them, eyes firmly locked on her. If he could just reach her. The darkness writhed, screaming, launching itself at him with broken howls, furious to protect its prize. Shadows wrestled against his light, trying to drag him down. Panic flared in his chest, but he refused to yield. I will break you. Suddenly, the cage shivered violently, Clara's form shining through the cracks, her eyes pleading yet determined. Sam, don't. It's a trick. But it was too late. The ground beneath him trembled unnaturally as the walls of the church began to dissolve, collapsing inward like a discarded dream. No. No. Sam shouted, limbs flailing as the walls closed in, darkness seeping in around him like an invading army. Give in. The figure sang. You're already trapped. Accept it. The ground vanished. Everything fell away, and he spun into a black sea, weightless and screaming. With a final desperate push, he flung himself toward Clara's cage, reaching for her. The void swallowed him, empty and cold, and all he felt was the pull of her light, a beacon in the storm. Yet just as he thought he was lost, the brilliance of her shimmer burst, twisting through the void like a comet. He seized it with both hands, pulling her nearer, embracing the warmth that drove back the shadows. Together. Clara's voice called from the depths, louder, more clear than the world falling apart around them. They grasped at the edges of their connection, their bond fusing against the chaos. As they reached for each other, a blinding flash erupted forth. Was it salvation? Or had he just made one last foolish choice? And as they were enveloped in that light, the figure's laughter echoed, sinister and closer than he dared to believe. It's not over yet. The void shivered again, alive, awakening. And Sam's heart plunged into dread. What awaited them on the other side? Was it sanctuary, or a deeper darkness still? When the blinding light faded, Sam and Clara found themselves standing on solid ground, the oppressive darkness lifting as if it had never existed. They were back in the church, the familiar smell of burning candles and old wood washing over them like a tidal wave of relief. Clara was no longer trapped in the cage. She stood beside him, looking wide-eyed and breathless. "Sam," she gasped, quickening to his side, her fingers trembling against his arm. "Are we safe?" "I think so," he stammered, heart still racing. The sanctuary around them appeared untouched. The flickering shadows had retreated in the light of a new dawn that broke through the stained glass windows, painting the church in vibrant colors. "But we have to go now." Just then, the figure re-emerged, but this time it was shrouded in a translucent veil of smoke, almost like vapor. It hovered at the altar, eyes gleaming with a knowing menace. "You think you can escape me?" it hissed, voice dripping with a dark laughter that echoed through the sanctuary. Sam held Clara's hand tightly, ready to fight if he had to. But he felt the warmth radiating from her, giving him strength. "We're not your pawns anymore," he shouted, the resolve building in him like a bonfire. The shadow figure snarled, a grotesque grimace forming on its face. "You have no idea the power you've unleashed. You think you can have both light and love without paying the price?" Sam's stomach twisted. The entities he had faced, the desires he had conjured, were they only the beginning of something worse? "Sam, we need to do this together," Clara urged quietly, squeezing his hand. "Remember what we fought for, our choices, our freedom." In that moment, clarity broke through the chaos. He didn't just want to escape this, he wanted to reclaim what mattered most. Not just power or wealth, but the bond they had fought to protect. "Then let us choose light," he declared, turning to Clara. Together, they stepped forward, hands entwined, summoning every ounce of their collective strength. The room began to glow, a radiant energy spiraling from them, intertwining as they faced the figure together. As they focused their thoughts on the light, images poured into their minds, memories of laughter, of love, of the life they envisioned beyond the shadows. The figure's sneer twisted into a grimace. "Foolish children, your hearts cannot save you from this." But their light surged, vibrant and powerful, breaking through the cloying darkness threatening to overtake them. They harnessed that energy, feeling it simmer within them, turning fear into invincible strength. "You're wrong," Sam declared, his voice booming with clarity. "We've already chosen." A blinding flash erupted, casting aside the figure's darkness like a curtain. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from the brightness as the sanctuary filled with a wave of pure, shimmering energy. It swallowed the darkness whole, twisting it until it vanished into nothingness. As the echoes of chaos faded, Sam and Clara stood alone in the now silent church. The light suffused everything while breathing life into dust and stillness. They turned to each other, breathless, exhilarated. "Is it over?" Clara asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. I think so," Sam said, looking at the empty altar where darkness had once thrived. But deep within, uncertainty stirred. Had they merely banished it, or had they only delayed the inevitable? For now they were free. Sam could feel that joy bubbling up, but with it, a niggling worry gnawed at him. Darkness never truly vanished. It adapted, waiting for the right moment to strike again. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together," Clara said, and the strength in her gaze fortified his resolve. With renewed determination, they stepped beyond the altar, back into the world outside. The first light of dawn greeted them, bright and promising. But before they crossed through the heavy double doors, an unexpected whisper curled through the air, slicing into their fragile moment of peace. "You may have won this battle, Sam. But the war is far from over. Even under the bright sun, a shiver threaded down his spine. As they exited the church, arm in arm, Sam turned to Clara, a cocky smile replacing the grimness. "Hey, let us deal with the rest of that later. Right now, how about we finally grab that coffee we've been talking about?" She laughed lightly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Yeah, I think I deserve one after all that." With one final look at the church, they stepped away. Each step felt light until the unease lingered as a distant memory behind them. A reminder that light, fierce as it might be, always existed side by side with darkness. Was it really over? They would prepare for whatever awaited them, knowing no matter how tangled this path became, they would stand side by side in the face of uncertainty. The time for a new beginning had dawned. Now, this is the time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. We have so much more coming. Smash that like button now. It feeds the algorithm and helps us share these amazing tales with others. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us know what you think. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support and join our community of true fans.